Alright, for week 2, project 2 for advanced web design. First thing I did was took a look at the article, How to Evaluate What CMS to Use. There are essentially 8 major things in the evaluation process, from intuitiveness, ease for understanding, flexibility and easy to customize, the extensibility by plugins and modules, no need for programming, optimized for speed and performance, security, documentation and community support, and of course an emphasis on web standards and best practices. Well, for this first test drive I chose to use Joomla, which is one of the world's most popular CMSs in the general portal category. It can do almost everything. Actually, it seems it can do everything, especially if you add more modules and extensions to it. We'll demo the main page to get a better idea of what this can do. Here is the main page. Actually, let me go back to it. So here's the main page. It can be set up pretty much like any website. You can change columns. You can pretty much make this look as you want based on templates. So we'll take a little further look to verify that these things are here. On the beginners page, there is some information to read for anybody starting off about what you can actually expect by installing and using Joomla. One of the first things that I see is the documentation and support forums, which if we take a look at the documentation page, find that there is all sorts of ways to basically teach yourself through tutorials or manuals. Not to mention there is a community forum where you can talk to other people who use Joomla. There's actually more than just that, but that's a nice starting point. So as far as this chart goes, there is definitely documentation and community support. Excuse me. Heading back to the main page, here's your forums, which makes it nice to ask questions and get answers from experienced users. There is a Joomla site showcase to see a wide variety of sites that are using Joomla, and quite a few. I actually already knew this. Our school uses Joomla to create our school's website. All I do is upload to it via FTP FileZilla. I haven't done any page development, and I wouldn't mind considering doing some later. As far as the extensions directory, now this is kind of nice. I noticed this in WordPress also, essentially plugins, things that you can add to Joomla to make it more useful for your needs, and it's all categorized here on the side. All sorts of different things, from adding e-commerce situations, shopping carts, to being a blog, to being essentially anything you want it to be. So that's kind of nice that you can have these extensions added. 72, 74 extensions is quite a bit. Heading back. So for beginners, this is a nice way to see that there's quite a bit of power to this program. If you're an upgrader, somebody who's used Joomla before, they want to make sure that you can learn more about how their new access control works and more about documentation, which is good to know. Heading back here for a minute. So it seems that there's definitely plugins, modules. We'll see more of that in a few minutes. I'm going to highlight it red because we did see that there's quite a bit of things you can add to Joomla to make it fit. That also fits with the flexibility and ease of customization, because you can do what you want with this CMS and have it look like any web page you want to create and not be limited in your creativity. As far as optimized for performance speed, well, I'll come back to the page. We'll take a look at why slow, and I will reload the page. And we'll find that even though there are a couple of poor grades here, I find all websites I've visited and used why slow on have not just a few, but quite a few poor grades. If you continue, you can see that the Joomla page actually has quite a few good grades. This is a much better rating than I've seen off of other pages. So in relation to performance and speed, the Joomla page runs very high on that spectrum. Going to the professional link on the Joomla demo page, we can see that there is essentially a lot of different things that you can use for learning how to use Joomla, and this is again just part of the many different documentations and trainings that exist. I'm going to head over now to the install of the demo admin page. I do like the main control panel that's offered. It has very easy icons to read, quick information. I think this is actually a little easier to read than WordPress is. As far as things that we could know from this side of it, the intuitiveness, the ease to understand, I think is pretty simple to see through the various icons here. So I will go ahead and say yes to the intuitiveness. No need for programming knowledge. That's absolutely true. It seems that when you are ready to make a page, I have to add a new article, log in with the password from before. You have your WYSIWYG editor so that you can not have to worry about the code. It makes it easier for anybody to do this, although the ability to make changes is also present if you know code using Joomla. So it's good for both user types. So no programming knowledge needed at all. What's left? A little security and emphasis on web standards. Well, as far as security goes, I'll come back here to the maintenance area and system information, if I remember correctly. Nope. Global. Yep. So there are security things from passwords. FTP can be turned on or off. Passwords permissions for various pages. Essentially, security is high in the priority list for Joomla. I know when I used other easier web builders in the past, trying to set up security and for particular users can be somewhat difficult. So I would have to say that security is a concern and addressed very well by Joomla. As far as emphasis on web standards, well, I guess I'm going to have to just go to Joomla's page and see what they seem to state about themselves. They have conferences, they show learning and training. I know that they come out with different releases on a regular basis, showing constant revision and review of their software. And I know that there's a lot of people as part of the community of Joomla in order to, I think, keep things in the open source market always working, functioning, and being very useful. Go to the About page for Joomla. They are an award-winning content management system. They have stuff for businesses and for developers. The same exact list that was on the org site. How can I be sure there will be Joomla support for the future? Well, that's pretty important. Obviously, with such a large community, this program I think will continue to be maintained for decades to come at least. So I would have to say that the web standards and best practices according to these types of companies is adhered to. Joomla is obviously one of the better choices. I could have probably, well, we weren't supposed to pick anything less than 4 stars, so sticking with a high quality rated site like Joomla to make a CMS is obviously a good idea, and from our readings I would assume going to Drupal and already WordPress as well as a few others would lead to probably a happy user in creating a pretty easy website using a content management system.